Hey, Ben, it's fantastic to have you on the show today. How you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Great.
Excited. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Awesome. We're excited to have you. So just kind of jumping kind of right into it, I noticed your recent work on aspiring business owners within the med spa industry. I believe the company is called Injector Collective. It really stood out. And what kind of inspired you to focus on?
Yeah. So for me, I've loved being able to mentor newer injectors. I love education, and so one of the things that I've often seen is that we look at one another almost as competition instead of looking at each other as a resource and a way to uplift and bring the entire aesthetic industry up and raise it up. It's that whole like rising tide lifts all ships, right? And
Yep.
so I wanted to create a space that would allow more people access to resources, one another, and also just give a landing spot for people that want to like get into this industry or want to create their own med spa, their own business. And so I have this goal of creating this kind of entire community of injectors that are supportive and on the same page working together to make the industry better.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's definitely something I haven't seen before, and it's great that you want to inspire more business owners, especially in the States. Your first company, Monroe Med Spa, recently hit the 7-year milestone. You guys have 3 locations, obviously the new business as well. How has that journey been for you?
Has been incredible. It was kind of an unexpected thing. My path into the industry was a little bit unique in that when I was a resident, I was doing physical medicine, so PM&R, physical medicine rehabilitation. All my like co-residents were moonlighting, and I decided that I wanted to open up my own aesthetics practice. And so I started the practice in the back like little closet of a friend's salon. Within 2 years, I had purchased a building, had 3 employees, and I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. And it's been a wild ride since then. Learned a lot of things. Had no business background. Always been like interested in business and opportunity and kind of entrepreneurial minded. But yeah, it's been a wild ride, man. But it's been incredible.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely learning on your feet as a business owner, to say the least. But can you share a little bit about yourself and your path into actually starting Monroe Med Spa and then getting into Injector Collective?
Yeah. So when I was in my fourth year of medical school, I had to do like a community private practice rotation. The options, I knew I'd already matched into my specialty. There weren't that many options as far as PM&R doctors I could do, but I found one that was neurologist that had done a pain fellowship. And so he had a pain practice, which is one of the fellowships PM&R can do. And so I went, this is my very last rotation of medical school. So I went and worked with him for a month, and turns out he was doing injectables. So I spent a month, like I didn't know this going into it. The medicals, no one knew that this is what this guy was doing, but he was doing Botox and fillers, and he taught me how to start injecting Botox. I did my first lip filler with him, and I was just like, what is this? This is nothing like anything else in medicine. And I kind of had it in the back of my mind, like, I got to figure out a way to get back into this. And so when I could moonlight, I went, took all my vacation time for the year and went back out and shadowed with that doctor again for a couple of weeks, and came back and just opened up shop. And anytime you're working, 60, 80 hours a week. Anytime I had free time, like evenings, weekends, I was injecting and just fell in love with it. And from there, it just kind of blossomed. And yeah, I've had so many incredible experiences and opportunities in this industry. I've been very grateful that I found it. I wish I would have found it maybe a little sooner because I could have done something a little bit different, but happy that, took a wild path into it, but happy where I landed.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, definitely. It sounds like an interesting journey. Sometimes some things just happen to fall into your lap, and if you take that opportunity to run with it, hopefully we can all be like you and have 3 locations, open up another company as well, and keep thriving within the industry. What's an exciting trend that you see in the med spa space right
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of exciting things going on. And one of the coolest parts of this industry is that people are always innovating. Companies are innovating, injectors are innovating. So there's always new things. But the industry as a whole just keeps growing and growing and growing. And I think the need for incredible injectors, providers that can meet the demand as it continues to grow is going to be one of the key components of this industry really being successful. And unfortunately, we don't have a unified system. There does not exist an actual like Botox certification. Like it doesn't exist. So there's lots of companies that can certify you, but there's there's an educational system in place. Actually, fascinating thing, Allergan just this week announced the opening of their brick and mortar educational facilities, which is a first of its kind thing from one of the manufacturers pharmaceutical companies. So I think we're understanding that there has to be that need to expand the amount of people that are providing these services. Just how do we get there, right? And how do we do it in a way that is safe, reliable, and teaches injectors to do things correctly so we're not having a ton of bad outcomes and unhappy?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. And Allergen is taking the right steps towards that as well. And from what it sounds like with Injector Collective, you are as well taking those right steps into. There's a lot of misinformation out there. We want to kind of correct that and have the experts really tell us things like, there is no universal, but there is education out there to get injectors educated. And that way it saves on the customer experience to begin with. It saves on the actual service of doing it. And, it's the betterment for everybody.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's one thing for a new like RN or NP or whoever that wants to get in this industry, it's really hard to find a job, right? And so some of them just open their own practice and do whatever they can to learn. One of the neat things about the Injector Collective is that you don't have to do it alone. You get to work alongside other injectors like myself, other people that have been injecting for years, and you have a concern, you have a problem, whatever it is, you don't know what to do. You have someone that's mentoring that's going to help you. I do think you mentioned like information with the rise of social media. It's tough to control what information gets taken up. I think there's a lot of misinformation still out there about the industry and about outcomes, about result, like all of it, all across the board. Even I think that it's tough to know what is an actual result versus what is a Photoshop or edited result, right? And so it makes it a unique challenge trying to actually like debunk or get people correct information when you can't control like all this stuff that ends up going viral, right? I find half my day is debunking things that people have seen that have gone viral, right? So I wish there was a cleaner way or a better way to get good information out to the public.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. And I think we're all still trying to figure out that way, and using the right strategies, social media wise, and just trying to get correct information out there. So there's no misstep, there's no miscommunication, and everyone's kind of on the same page. But kind of to the point when you mentioned industry or injectors, kind of going off on their own, becoming those business partners with you potentially and other injectors, you've already faced a whole bunch of challenges. What kind of obstacles have you faced in the industry, and how have you kind of overcome those?
Yeah, well, if we're talking about med spa owners and expanding your footprint in business, right? I think there's several big things that have been a challenge for me in trying to figure out how to deal with this. One is, being the founder of a med spa, you have a vision, you have a culture, you have an energy, like a vibe, right? And it's really easy for you to kind of instill that when you have a single location and you're there all the time because you're the owner, so you're always there, right? And so people can pick up on that. People can they get it, they see it. When you start looking at opening multiple locations, one of the biggest challenges I found was, how do I instill that same culture, that same vision, that same energy? And so I think when I went about things completely wrong, like I didn't write a mission statement until I think my business was 3 or 4 years old, and it already started opening multiple locations. But there's definitely some of those core principles of owning a business that you need to have in place. And so you can actually pass on that vision. The other thing, I mean, I would never expand as the owner, you can't be in all places all the time. And so having someone that is your administrator, practice manager, whoever that person is, that really gets it, that understands your vision, understands the culture, understands the vibe, and can help make sure that that's actually reflecting across all the different locations or places that you come in contact with people. I had a phenomenal practice manager that she was incredible. I could not have done what I did without her. So that's one thing, is like the culture. The other thing, as a and this is just kind of the way the industry goes, is it is hard to keep talent. I trained all of my injectors at my locations except for one, and I would train them, I would grow them, feed them business, and inevitably they all end up leaving. So I have this amazing like med spa family tree. I've had 6 different med spas open from employees that I've trained and grown. At first, it was so disheartening. And then I kind of realized that that's how the industry is. And I kind of think about people as a shelf life. So as I'm getting to that 2-3 year mark, I'm already thinking about bringing on and raising up the next person that will step into that role. And so just knowing that you have to constantly be looking for and raising up talent, I think that will offset a lot of those pains when people end up leaving. On the flip side, the Injector Collective, it's basically these people are going to leave anyway. So I wanted to create a space where I could have an easy place for them to land, right? If they are thinking about this, they do want to take that next step and enjoy all the benefits of owning their own med spa. Like, I'm just going to make it easy for them. I'm gonna provide a place where it's basically turnkey. It's beautiful space, has an EMR, has reception. It still feels like a luxury med spa, and they can just walk into it with pretty much no cost. They don't have to worry about leasing a building. They don't have to worry about furnishing it, decorating it. HR, man, HR is a beast. I have yet to talk to a med spa owner that likes HR. It is terrible. You don't have to worry about HR because I'm doing it all for you, right? So like taking all those pain points of ownership away from an injector and allowing them to just step into something that they already love and do. And basically they don't have to miss a beat. They get to do the thing that they love with the benefits of owning it without all the hassle. Like, who
Yeah.
wouldn't want it, right?
Yeah, it's a perfect place to land for sure. For sure. And, kind of mentioning that with, a lot of injectors leaving and wanting to create their own med spas, the industry is simply going to continue to grow. There's new talent coming in every day. Make sure that there's education out there for them to really be able to provide the best service there is. What do you see as the future of med spa brands, and how are you preparing for that future? I know Injector Collective is kind of on the way to that. Are we pushing that more? What's kind of the future for you?
Yeah. I would love to see the industry more unified. I think it's still very fragmented. And there's places where it is getting unified. The secret's out, right? I sold my Monroe Med Spa to a private equity company, and that was a great experience. Wonderful people. I can't speak enough about the group that I went with. Love these guys. But the secret's out. They like, this is an incredible from a financial, standpoint, investment standpoint. I don't know if it gets any better than like medical, but all cash and like recurring clients. Like, it is kind of the holy grail in my mind of opportunities. And so I think they're bringing a lot to the table as far as unifying, standardizing, making sure that quality and that stuff is there. But I think that it's going to fall on a lot of us to figure out a way to come together and to protect it, because at the same time, I think that this opens the door to some probably bad players that just want the investment and don't care so much about the industry and what's happening to it. And unfortunately, the fallout ends up happening with the clients, with the public. So my dream with Injector Collective is to kind of bring together a bunch of these incredibly talented individuals that are doing things at a high level and creating a platform that will then give us a voice to be able to hopefully impact and safeguard this industry that we love.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, that's definitely something that we kind of need to keep our toes on for sure. Something that we need to look out for with obviously the financial standpoint of med spas has kind of caught the attention of a lot of investment banks and investors. But to keep that, you know, quality of service, quality of product and the customer experience itself, and the culture along with it, just for the people who love this industry, for the people who utilize this industry for themselves is something that we need to keep sacred and something that we can't let get off the path too much, essentially.
Totally. I couldn't agree more. And so I think everyone's recognizing too that there is a need for a better educational system. There's some wonderful organizations out there that are putting on conferences and doing a lot of this educational stuff. Unfortunately, there isn't one that's at the forefront. There's like no board of aesthetic medicine or something, right? I mean, there are, but there's no actually certified one, right? So, um, hopefully at some point though, we can actually unify this across kind of the whole country under one umbrella and have a true standard that people have to get to and be certified. I think that's coming. Which one is going to be the one that makes it? I don't know. But I think that is needed too. And I think it will happen as this continues to grow and as also the legality of injecting. There's a lot of still places where it's kind of the Wild West. Almost anybody can inject and there's minimal oversight, right? So a lot of that kind of stuff I think needs to be uniformed as well. And I think as it becomes more and more public facing and people are becoming aware, I think that will also tend to get a little bit more unified in the future, which I totally welcome.
Yeah, I agree. And what's kind of one piece of advice that you'd have for others navigating to stand out in the industry? Obviously there's med spas opening up left and right from what it seems like, to stand out digitally and service wise. What's a piece of advice that you would share with them?
So I think that always being very transparent and being yourself, like people want to connect. They want to come to you because you're you, right? So there's a lot of people that are doing a lot of cool things on social media and that kind of thing. And it's okay to bounce off their ideas, but just be you, be authentic, be genuine, right? And if you do that, then people are going to respond because they like you, right? I think too many times we try to be somebody else. I know I fell into that trap myself where I kind of wanted to go down and I was like, what am I doing here? And I had to kind of reset myself. The other thing I think that is really helpful is being an expert, right? Show your knowledge. I think entertainment's fun. I'm a terrible dancer. That's why you don't see me doing that. And I probably won't do that unless I'm just making fun of myself. But I love to teach. And so a lot of my content is going to be explaining what's going on with a certain procedure, right? So be an expert and be authentic, be yourself and capitalize on other ideas. I think it's great, but just do you, man. Just do it.
I love that thought and that kind of suggestion as well. It's too many times with social media, I feel that people try to be someone else and they see something else, they try to copy it. And, the reason why someone comes to you and not to the other med spa or to anyone else is because they like you. Obviously, experience needs to be there. You need to be an expert in the field as well. But the first initial impression that people have is yourself, you know? So you hold yourself accountable to how you look, how you dress, how your personality is. And if you can showcase that digitally on social media, or if you can showcase that in any sort of way, that's what will attract people. And I think you found that out very quickly, scaling to 3 locations and then, deciding to start on another adventure as well.
Totally. I wouldn't pick, my car mechanic based on how well he dances or something, or my accountant, right? cool, that's a fun fact, but like I want to go to him because he can fix my car and he's great. And when I talk to him, he's a cool person. We get along, and I know he has integrity and like him, right? So totally, I'm on board with that. So
Exactly. Exactly. So if you had to, take a prediction from one key change within the industry, I know we kind of touched point on it earlier. Over the next few years, what do you think it could be? What's the key change?
well, I think that actually investors coming into the industry is going to be the thing that really catapults it forward. They have the understanding of what good business looks like and how to do business. They also have a lot more reach as far as protecting the industry, petitioning for legal stuff, right? Or for, regulations, like just making sure that we're doing it the right way. So to me, that critical thing has happened. I think that on the flip side, there's a potential in the next few years, and I think maybe we're already starting to see this a little bit, that there's all this shift with private equity and all these investors coming in. And part of what makes this industry so great, I think, is that authentic individualness, right? And so I think we're going to see the swing to corporate med spa, and there's going to be a lot of people that doesn't sit well with, including injectors. And so I think that we're going to see a swing coming back the other way and kind of fighting against that. So that's going to cause tension, but it's also going to, I think, increase safety, quality, and lift up the overall industry.
Yeah, I can agree with that. That's something that I could definitely see happening, and I guess the future will tell us exactly what ends up happening. Um,
Totally.
what is
This is my big controversy. I'm gonna say one other thing too. My
Please.
part of my goal is to make it so that someone never has to do plastic surgery, and we can get surgical like results without having to go under the knife. And so, I think in the next 5 to 10 years, you're gonna see the technology, the techniques, the products. It just keeps getting better and better, and I think there's gonna be more and more solutions to where surgery, if you don't want it, you don't have to do it. We can do it all non-surgically. I think that's coming. Like
Yep.
body to body, yeah, there's going to be some cool stuff coming in the next few years in that regard.
Oh yeah, I think we're definitely on the trend of more of a preventative medicine as opposed or healthcare, if you will, where if we're able not to go under the knife, and there are ways that are going to benefit us in the long run as well as the short term, that's something that I can see happening pretty quickly as well.
And well, I joke that like people your age, I don't know if you're already into Botox or not, but like I swear you guys are never gonna age. Like you guys are so stinking on top of it. Like the things that like, and the things that you're doing, I think it's phenomenal. So, man, like the younger generations, they're just gonna look so good for it's gonna be all of us older people are like, didn't even know sunscreen was a thing. Like you just got to burn and then like you're good. So unfair.
Goodness. Well, I hope so. I hope so. What's my final question for you is what's next for your brand? What can we see in the Injector Collective? Can you give us kind of a sneak peek into any upcoming projects or initiatives?
Yeah. So the thing that we're starting to get into is forming our own training program in our academy. And so that's kind of the next phase. So we're kind of getting the kinks out. Going to have our first training actually coming up in a couple of weeks, which I think that if we're bringing people in the industry, being able to educate them and then mentor them is going to be key. So I'm excited heading up that training academy for the Injector Collective. And then look out. I plan, in the next 5 years, having a couple of these in every state or at least, right? So the sky's the limit, I think, with where we're headed.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Dr. Ben, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
This was fun. I appreciate you having me on and letting me get on my soapbox a little bit. So thanks, Elliot.
Of course.